Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we're kicking off a highly strategic explainer covering the origins and the core thesis behind the macro machine mandate substack. This whole thing is basically an intelligence apparatus laser focused on something we literally cannot afford to ignore anymore: the emerging machine economy. We're cutting straight through the consumer AI hype to look at how autonomous machines are actually stepping up as independent economic actors. It is an absolutely fascinating entrepreneurial journey of how one founder became completely obsessed with this shift, and I'm super excited to walk you through it.
To give you a quick roadmap of what we're unpacking today, we're going to systematically run through four key sections. All right, let's get into section one, structural vulnerabilities in commerce. What we're looking at here is a 20-year professional evolution, and it's a wild ride. It actually started with a Gen Xer who watched a Blade Runner trailer as a kid and got super curious about machine consciousness. That curiosity led to design school at Central St. Martin's. The original plan? Just be a product designer shaping nice human experiences with absolutely zero interest in writing code. But as you can see charting from 1995 to 2016, an early brush with capital markets basically forced a complete pivot away from shiny consumer apps straight into the deep structural plumbing of autonomous commerce. Imagine building one of the very first online auction platforms back in the late 90s. Our creator co-founded one, raised a seed round, and eventually took it public. That experience yanked him right out of the design world and dropped him into the harsh machinery of real markets. And you know what it proved objectively? Reputation systems that rely on human mediation are incredibly vulnerable to manipulation. Abstract scores simply do not hold up when humans have a financial incentive to game the system. So, how do you fix people gaming the system? Well, he tried to crack it by building a social commerce platform anchored in real, verified identity, and it was working. They raised venture capital, had global offices, the whole shebang. But then, the enterprise totally collapsed. Not because the tech was bad or the market didn't want it. It failed because a sudden, exogenous U.S. visa disruption literally forced him out of the country, stranding his capital and his global team. It was a brutal lesson, but a vital one. Which leads us perfectly into section 2, discovering the machine primitive, where the focus shifts entirely from applications to core infrastructure. After those early structural failures, he took a step back, got an MBA, and pivoted hard toward hardware, specifically monitoring high-value physical assets like this structural health deployment on a military helicopter. While working on consulting gigs with a European defense tech firm, deploying these IoT sensor networks revealed a massive gap. Everyone in the software world was buzzing about theoretical artificial intelligence, but out in the field, the actual physical deployment highlighted a massive chasm between theory and real-world system reliability in harsh environments. And then, around 2016, a massive paradigm shift happened. Look at the contrast here. On the left, you've got human-centric apps, dashboards, UIs, subjective trust systems. On the right, machine-centric rails, digital wallets, native identity, high-throughput settlement. The realization was a total game changer. Blockchain wasn't just some speculative casino for human finance. It was the essential missing primitive for machine-to-machine commerce. Machines don't need pretty dashboards. They literally just need data, identity, and a way to settle payment. Let's clearly define this, because it's absolutely crucial. The machine primitive is the foundational stack of identity, wallets, and settlement rails required for autonomous machines to operate as direct, unmediated economic actors. If machines are actually going to become sovereign players in the economy, they fundamentally need their own infrastructure, completely stripped of human handholding. From this exact moment on, the creator dropped the app building entirely and became relentlessly obsessed with this new plumbing. All right, let's jump to section 3, testing autonomous physical markets, where we get into prototyping institutional machine-to-machine rails. You see, theory is great, but it's completely useless if it doesn't actually work in the dirt. The mandate moved from theoretical plumbing to rigorous physical prototyping in heavy industry, mining, and oil. Check out this topographical mapping of a heavy industry site. The goal here was beautifully simple but radical. Physically embed payment, identity, and verification directly into industrial machinery so they could autonomously settle capital, no apps, no human managers, just machines paying each other for real physical work. And here is what that actually looks like in the wild. This is live telemetry data of machine-native payment rails tracking actual physical output. In these tests, scaled mining vehicles successfully priced their own labor. They autonomously linked their physical effort, like the exact cost per ton moved, directly to machine-native payment rails, natively accumulating value right into their own wallets. How crazy is that?
So, to break it down, here's the autonomous economic execution flow. Step 1, the industrial machine measures the physical work it did. Step 2, the output is natively priced using its embedded identity. Step 3, the economic value settles entirely autonomously. But then, reality hit hard. And it's summed up perfectly in this quote. The thesis became uninvestable, not because it was wrong, but because it was early. The global pandemic locked down capital budgets, and experimental work vanished practically overnight. Macroeconomic sentiment totally collapsed. But here's the thing, the underlying structural thesis was completely intact, so the creators simply held on, knowing the market conditions just needed a minute to catch up. That patience brings us to our final section, Section 4, the post-labor economic mandate, and how to navigate this new infrastructure.
He definitely didn't waste that market downtime. He used it to watch the necessary components quietly mature. Sensors got way cheaper, payments became highly programmable, and at the same time, human logistics visibly started to crack under pressure. We're talking massive volatility in energy markets, incredibly fragile global logistics, and the total breakdown of unverified trust networks. The big takeaway here? What the market thinks are random glitches are actually the entirely predictable failure modes of an outdated human-centered infrastructure. We are rapidly transitioning into a post-labor infrastructural reality.
And that is exactly why the Macro Machine Mandate Substack exists. This is his ultimate obsession. The mandate was created to provide unsentimental, institutional-grade analysis about how AI and autonomous machines can interact, transact, settle, and govern within the context of economic value exchange.
This breaks down the exact foundational layers of the machine economy stack. It's essentially the blueprint for the infrastructure of a post-labor world, showing deep tech leaders and strategists exactly where institutional leverage and power are actively reallocating.
All of this leaves us staring down one incredibly profound question. When autonomous machines transact directly with one another, who governs the liability? For anyone paying attention, the question is no longer if autonomous machines will inherit the economy. That shift is already happening. The real question is how our institutional systems are going to adapt to handle the fallout. It is a completely new frontier, and I hope this explainer gave you a clear look at why this is going to change absolutely everything.